Go to the next one. Crimson says, hello, Eve. Love making hard surface models, and right now I'm focusing on character modeling. Till now, I have only made one character, and I'll be done with another one, which I'll be presenting on your event. Nice. I would love to review my works, and would love to any kind of suggestion you think I should. Nice, nice. Yeah, your hard surface is on point, man. I've seen this sort of like stuff. This is really good exercise. Good stuff. Good presentation. I've seen this axe so many times. Is this from a tutorial? Did someone do a tutorial about this axe? Because I've seen the concept before. Like, I've seen all of this concept before. But I'm not sure if someone did like a tutorial about this, like the 3D modeling and things. Because I've seen this axe so many times. Again, if you're following a tutorial, Debaditya, instead of doing the axe, do the bow, or do the sword, or do the dagger, because you're going to do the exact same principles that someone is teaching on the tutorial, but you're going to do it on an original piece. And instead of seeing this axe for the 11th time, I'm going to be seeing a more original piece. So, yeah. Do you have an environmental design course? Not yet. Not yet. I've been asked to do one. I actually started working on one, and it was just not flowing the way I wanted to, so I postponed it for later. But yeah, I'll have more environment stuff later. Go. This cannon's quite nice as well. I feel like the height is a little bit weird. It looks a little bit weird here. Okay, I'm definitely gonna say this. Go here to create that. So you guys gotta be very careful when you're doing like sculpted elements or alphas with height, like this one right here or this one right here. In the real world, they never look soft like what we have right here. See that? And I'm not sure if you did this on the high poly or if you did this on the texture elements. It kind of looks to me that you mask certain things and then you just inflated them. It gives this very sort of like plasticky weird element, or it gives this very sort of like plasticky weird effect, and this is not what you want, okay? So be very careful with this like wobbly elements or with this sort of like inflated objects when you're trying to bake things down, because it might look good from afar, but if you really zoom in, it starts looking very CG, very, again, sort of like if it was made with Play-Doh or something like that. So careful with those elements. Low poly is fine. It's the high poly then. It's probably on the high poly where you had this issue, because your low poly is fine. Even your UVs are quite nice. But the way you sculpted that high poly is not really giving us the detail that we want on the low poly. So be careful with that, okay? As for characters, I only see one character, and there's a lot of issues here with anatomy. So careful with that. It's important to study anatomy, like the pectoral muscles there. I don't know what's going on there, but that's definitely not how they work. Proportions are relatively fine, and textures are okay-ish, but it's just the anatomy, man. That's really not there. And same for topology. This topology is going to be very, very problematic, like here. Whenever we have like things that are going to be moving, like the skirt, you don't want to have this. This is really, really bad topology for anything that's going to be animated. What you usually want here is very straight squares, okay? Very, very straight squares, so that you give enough geometry and enough topology for dynamics or simulations to be able to properly move this cloth. And then all of the wrinkles and things like that, those are baked into the texture. But this like very intense points right here and a lot of triangles, this is going to be a pain to rig and a pain to animate. So we always want to have, usually, again, sort of like a grid-like structure in your elements, so that when we bend and like fold them and everything, they deform and they animate in the best possible way. UVs can also be optimized a little bit more, man. These are very messy, okay? Very, very messy UVs. It's not a bad project, but it's not the best either. I will probably take this one out and improve on this one. You mentioned that you're working on the contest. So if you're working on the contest, keep this in mind for your project, because these are things that are very, very noticeable. ¿Crees que hacer un Metal Gear como proyecto de portafolio sería buena idea? No, unless you're going to be doing programming and everything, Akira, you don't usually want to do like a game for a portfolio piece. If you want to do Metal Gear, you mean the character or like one character from the game? Again, it's possible, but it's been done before. And unless you can surpass it, it's better to do an original concept. Is baking high details to low poly mesh in Substance enough? Is there a way to retain details even better? Yeah, like the best way to retain details, Secret Talks, is by modeling. So if you model all of those details and you keep them on the element, like if all of this are like actually geometry, it's gonna look even better. But yeah, baking is the way to go. But there's a very big difference actually. Here, let me show you. Go to Maya. Let's go to Maya, because that's gonna be a good example for everyone. Thanks, you. In terms of... Sorry, what contest? What contest? You're living under a rock, Proth? We just announced a contest last week. It's called Ecos of Caer Aurelia. It's here on the Discord. There's also videos on the YouTube channel right here. If you want to check them, make sure to check them. So it's a contest where you are to create a character that could live in this city called Caer Aurelia. So there's the rules. I have a video where I explain all of the information. I talk about what type of characters are allowed, stuff like that. And it's going to be up until June 23. So the deadline for this contest is June 23. You just lost a couple of days, so you're not that far back. If you still want to participate, you're free to do so. There's a lot of people already like making great stuff here on the Discord. They're sharing their works in progress and everything. Make sure to follow the rules. Make sure to follow the information properly. If you have questions, you can ask more questions here on this channel. And yeah, there's gonna be big prizes as well. Julian is sponsoring a couple of tablets for us, so yeah, it's gonna be fun. Here, okay. No, it can be real time, it can be stylized, it can be realistic, it can be a lot of stuff. Again, check the videos. I explained that there. It doesn't need to be game ready. You can make it just for the presentation. So if we are sculpting something, let's say we're sculpting like a bump, right? This is how it would look when we bake it down. There we go, right? So this is probably what happened on the cannon that I was showing. He just sculpted with a mask or something, and he just like inflated out. And this is what we get. And as you can see, it looks very ugly. It looks very bad. So what you should do instead, if you want to add like a detail and have like a sharp connection, is model the object as a separate piece, okay? So you model the object as a separate piece, and then you bake it this way, see? So this is my high poly, and I bake this high poly into the plane, and this is how it's going to look. It's going to have a very sharp line around the object because it's a separate object. It's not modeled or sculpted from the same piece. So that's one way in which you can avoid the sort of like the issues that we have right here. So if, for instance, you model these things and then you have them on the high poly and project them down, they will look nicer. They will look way more interesting. Okay, cool. Let's go to the next one. Portfolio review.